Hello again, welcome back to another video. This is a viewer request today actually. Somebody wrote to me and said he'd like to see one of these. This is a Canon EOS 1N. 1994 introduction, phased out in 2000 when it was replaced by the V model, which was the last of the Canon professional film cameras. Predecessor was the EOS 1, which I have covered already. This is just a quick overview because really to go into every feature and function on this, we could well be here for half an hour, if not even longer. 35mm SLR, designed for professionals, metal chassis, polycarb body, tough as old boots, doesn't have a removable prism. That would weaken the camera, so this is a fixed prism in here. Main difference with the N as opposed to the original 1 version is this has 5 autofocus points instead of the 1 focus point that's central on the predecessor. This adds 2 either side as well, so there's a choice of 5 autofocus points. I only tend to use the center one anyway. There's a variety of different battery packs. This one's got the Duracell, not Duracell, the AA configurations, 4 of them. This will give you 3 frames per second in the motor drive modes. There is another different battery pack that holds 8 of these, and that will give you 6 frames a second. Hardly earth shattering, but more than enough really. There also was a high-speed version which has a pellicle mirror and a permanent grip. You can see these are interchangeable, they all unscrew from the bottom of the camera, and that was running at 10 frames a second, but that's really just a collector's item now. I don't think many people shoot film at 10 frames a second. So this is really a quick start video. Canon EF mount, so any EF lens will fit and work on it. This is a fairly modern 40mm 2.8, and this is an STM version. STM has no impact on this because it's not a video camera, it's just a plain simple film SLR. Great advantage, and the reason that I use these, because obviously I've got digital Canons as well, is that modern lenses that were never designed in the film area will fit and work. This is one such example. This is a 16-35L IS. It's image stabilized. I don't believe image stabilization works on these older cameras because it wasn't around in those days. But other than that, the lens works perfectly fine on a film camera. So if you want to have modern-ish lenses, because the EF's obviously been discontinued now, modern-ish lenses on a film camera, the Canon EF system's quite a good one to go for. Nikon as well. I know you can use a lot of the modern lenses there on their earlier generation F5s, F6s, etc. I quite often use G series lenses on my F5. But with Canon, stick this on digital or on film, any of the EF bodies, and it works just fine. Right, to get started, you've just seen you need to put some batteries in it. It is electronic. And the on-off switch is down here on the back. You've got L for lock. A will activate the camera, and you've also got the usual buzzer options for when it's in focus, etc. And there you can see the display on the top. This is displaying program mode at the moment. And it's also displaying that it's on single shot, which is ideally where you want it. There is a battery check function which is hidden in this little flap at the side. You can see there, the top one is custom functions. I think there's about 27 of those. I can't remember them off the top of my head, I always have to look them up. The only one I use is the one that stops the leader from being rewound completely into the film cassette, because this camera does rewind the film at the end of it. It's electronic advance and electronic rewind. You can see there's a battery check button, so if we push on that, you can see we've got 3 bars, he says. There you go, 3 bars on the battery check, which is fine. You've got the drive button as well. So by pushing that in and changing the thumb wheel, you can have self-timer, different self-timer settings, multiple, just continuous or single shot. I just leave it on single shot, and there's something that will clear all of the settings that you put in there on the custom functions. You can look those up either in the manual or online. There's plenty of guides for that. 2 control wheels, one at the back, one at the top. The one at the back you can disable by putting it in the 0 position. If you want to use it, you can put it in the 1 position, and then that makes that one active. To select the mode, and this has got all of the modes that we're kind of used to now. P is program, and then we have aperture priority, a depth of field mode, which I'm not going to go into, but basically the camera calculates the f-stop to give you the required depth of field between 2 points. Manual, so you can see there's the shutter speed at the top, and this one selects the aperture. So if you, there you go, there's a shutter release button there. Manual, time value, so that's shutter priority, and bulb. But if it's just starting out, leave it in P. It'll do all the working out for you, and it'll do all the settings for you. And then when you just push down on the shutter button, it's saying an 80, it's at F4. And the ISO button over here, 2 arrows, very simple. That's the ISO 400. So this is where you manually set your ISO. Goes all the way up to 64,000, 6400 even. 64,000 digital camera territory. It goes all the way down to 6. Shutter speeds, I can't remember what the longest one is, but it's way over a second. The shortest one is an 8,000th of a second, so you can shoot fast films on bright days. This one over here is for adjusting the metering. There's 3 different modes of metering, like there's a concentrated spot, a sort of centre weighted kind of spot, it's a bit of a bigger area, and then there's also the one I use the most, this one, which I think is matrix metering, 16 points or something. Multiple exposure mode is push those 2 together, and you can dial in the amount of shots you want to make on a single frame, up to 9, which should be more than enough. Exposure compensation is push this little dial in here, and using the back dial you can dial in your exposure compensation, 3 stops under up to 3 stops over. So very simple to set your exposure compensation. It does have this TTL flash thing. This uses the older, is it ATTL, not the newer ETTL from the digital cameras, so there is some degree of compatibility issues with flash guns. The screen can also be illuminated. You probably won't see it because it's sunshine today, which is nice. But yeah, the screen is illuminated. And I can't remember what the plus and minus button does on there. I haven't got a clue, I never use it, so I don't really know. Right, let's put some film in this puppy. Viewfinder, nice and bright. It's 100%, so it's exactly what you see is what you're going to get. You're not going to get strange things appearing in the side that you didn't see, as you do on most SLRs, because they're normally in the low 90s. Zeniths are in the high 60s, so this one actually shows you exactly what you're going to get on the film because it's a professional grade camera. So to open the back, we push this lock button here and then slide this down. It's a safety feature so you can't accidentally open the back. If you look inside, it's fairly similar and familiar to us. A window so you can see if the camera's loaded. Pressure plate. There's some contacts here which obviously relate to the lever on the back. Take-up spool's a little bit complicated, but it makes it very easy to use. The camera can read DX codes off of films. The DX code film, I've got some examples of films here. This is when I load myself, so this canister is not DX coded. You have to put the ISO in manually. This one is, and most modern bought films are DX coded. They have this strip on here, which is read by the contacts. It tells the camera what speed the film is, in this case 200. That's a good film, I'm not going to mess about with that. Right, to load the camera, you take your roll of film and you pop it in this side. It's a little bit fiddly because of this, it's got this auto winding mechanism in there, but if you've got steadier hands than me, you will find it will. Can't see because the phone's in the way as well. There you go. So your film cassette goes in there. Just pull out the leader as far as where the orange tab is. This film's been used so many times, it's getting a little bit crinkly on the end there. Close the back. He says, I don't know if the sprocket's right. Make sure it's as flat as you can possibly get it. You can see it's loading. And it's flashing the ISO because it can't read what it is. It's just saying you need to confirm what ISO you want to use. So as soon as I push down on these two, set it to 400, it goes away, and that's fine. Other than that, autofocus and manual focus on Canons is on the lens as a switch for AF and MF. Nikon's it's on the body. So you can just set this to whatever you want. This lens isn't particularly good for manual focusing. It's electronic rather than mechanical, so you can only autofocus. You can only focus when the camera's turned on. And then to take an image, you just push down on there. 50 to 3.2. Probably not getting focus, is it? And there you go. And there's the frame counter down there. It's alright, this is only a scrappy old test film. See, it is quite noisy, but yeah, it's a good noise, I think. When you get to the end of the roll, it will rewind automatically. Just take the film out, put another one in, and away you go. If you're going to change lenses, just turn it off. It's a bit safer to do that than just take the lens off without turning it off. There is a self-timer function. There is a tripod bush. And this battery, depending on the insert, it runs on AA's, or it can use two CR5 batteries. I tend to use the AA batteries, they're more available. But use a good brand, don't use cheapy ones like I normally do. Use something with a bit of quality. It is quite a demanding camera on the battery. If you want to take the film out of the camera early, you don't want to finish it off, I normally put it in a dart bag and cut the film out so I can save what's left on there, the price of film nowadays. But if you just push this little button in, it will rewind, and there's flashing to say that it's done that. It's very quick. And hopefully it will leave the leader out. I leave it out because I develop my own films, so I don't want the leader disappearing in there. It makes life a lot harder for loading into spirals for development. And just take out your film. What I do is I cut this square so I know that that film's been exposed, and I know that if it's got a leader on it, it hasn't been exposed. That's basically it. Nice cameras. If you're just beginning in photography, you can start with it in this P mode and you can work your way through the other modes, and it's about as good as it gets, really. Everything on these is like the final evolution of the film cameras before the digital era, and a lot of the modern digital cameras are very, very similar in layout. I've got both the EOS 1D and the EOS 1DS, and they're just pretty much the same in layout and in terms of operation. So if you're a digital DSLR shooter, especially with Canons, these are very, very easy to pick up and use straight away. So there you go, folks. Quick overview of the Canon EOS 1N. Very nice camera, highly recommended. Oh, depth of field preview down there, I forgot that one. And there is a remote connection here. It's electronic, unfortunately. And there is a PC connection over on this side for studio flash or external flash. But yeah, very nice camera. This would see you right the way through your film development, like I say, from complete novice right the way through to knowing your way around exactly, and onto more advanced techniques. And these are quite affordable. I think this was about £110, £120, which is sort of probably less than you pay for a K1000 or an AE1, but it's not as fashionable, it's not as hip, but it's just a machine at the end of the day, and these are very good ones. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. Comments, questions, queries down below. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.